Embers of a forgotten flame. The moon hung high over the city of Eldermere, casting a silvery light over the ruins left from the clash between two titans. Arya La Rosen, known as Excalibur, lay still beneath the ashes, a broken hero cradled in the embrace of a rival who had become something more. Claire, the scarlet harvester of flames, felt the emptiness gnaw at her soul like a ravenous beast. Time slowed as the world around them dissolved into a sea of silence, broken only by the distant wail of sirens and the crackle of embers. They were supposed to be enemies, destined to fight for eternity, yet as Claire clutched Arya's lifeless hand, she could not comprehend the depth of her loss. "Why didn't we see it sooner?" she whispered to the night, her voice trembling like leaves in the wind. "Why did we burn each other when we could have burned together?" As if in answer, the cold wind whispered back with the scent of ash and ozone, heavy with unspoken words. Memories flooded her mind, every skirmish, every battle fought, the electrifying pull of their conflicting powers. Each confrontation had sparked something deep within her, igniting feelings that defied the expected. Yet, in the shadow of her greatest enemy, Claire found herself yearning for the warmth that had been extinguished too soon. The ache in her chest throbbed with the realization that what she wanted was not conquest, but connection. The sirens grew louder, and the world began to rush back into focus. She knew she had to leave, to vanish into the shadows, yet she found herself unable to let go of Arya's hand. Their fingers remained entwined, a cruel reminder of the love they'd never confessed, bound together by fire and the desperation of their final moments. Just then, a faint flicker caught her eye. Beneath the debris of their battlefield, a small flame flickered and grew, an ember of Arya's ice fire, refusing to die out. Claire's heart quickened. "No," she murmured. "You can't leave me like this, not after all we've fought through." With a fierce resolve, Claire concentrated, letting the heat of her anger and grief flow into the flame, reigniting it. The power surged through her like a river of molten strength, and in an instant, the ember erupted into a blaze, encasing them both in a cocoon of vibrant red and icy blue. The flames pulsed around them, intertwining like threads of fate, and Claire felt Arya's warmth envelop her once again, this time tender as a lover's embrace. She reached toward the flickering remains of Arya's essence, calling out into the universe, "I refuse to lose you." In that moment, something miraculous happened. The flames expanded, swirling around her, and Claire was transported back to earlier days, to moments that felt like forever, climbing trees under whispered secrets, sparring in the training grounds filled with laughter, and passionate debates over the nature of heroism. It was as if the past had erupted from their shared memories, illuminating their connection. Claire felt the warmth of Arya's spirit dancing around her, beckoning, pulling her deeper into a sea of light. Suddenly, Claire's senses sharpened, the world crystallizing into focus. She could feel Arya's warmth, her presence reigniting the fire within her, one that could never truly die. As the flames grew dim, Claire closed her eyes, letting the warmth wash over her. "If you can hear me," she whispered into the ether, "know that I'm here now. I choose you, no matter what." The air shimmered, and with every beat of her heart, Claire poured love into the flames, a love born from rivalry, forged in the heat of battle, blooming at the edge of life and death. The essence of both heroes intertwined until, at last, the fire swallowed her whole. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself surrounded by flickering shadows. A luminous figure stood before her, radiant with ice-blue light, and ever-moving strands of flame that danced around her. "Arya." "Claire." Arya's voice was melodic, her eyes shining with resolve. "Is this real?" Claire stepped forward, feeling the energy pulsate around them. "As real as the fire we've fought with. As real as the love we've buried." The world spun, around them a new landscape bloomed, an ethereal domain of fire and ice, where the remnants of battle faded, and were replaced by vines of scarlet and frost. The pain of their past hung heavy yet beautiful, a tapestry that entwined their lives together. Arya reached out, and their fingers interlaced as they stood face to face, worlds apart yet closer than ever. "Are we dead?" Arya asked, anxiety weaving through her words. "Perhaps." Claire managed a small smile, emboldened by the reality of Arya standing before her. "But it feels like we've always been meant to be here." Fighting together, not against each other. Aria's breath hitched, and Claire mirrored her emotions, hope blooming like fire flowers. I never wanted to be just a hero, Claire. I wanted to be more. Aria took a step closer, her warmth radiating off her like the sun. You broke my heart, but in doing so, you ignited its flames. Claire laughed softly, the joy bubbling in her chest. We could be more than rivals, you know. We could be unstoppable. As darkness swirled at the edges of their new realm, they moved together, merging their powers into a symphony of flame and ice. The world they once knew had died, but in its ashes, they found a new chance, a beautiful amalgamation of their strengths and weaknesses. And together, they breathed life into the embers of their forgotten flame. Let's see what we can create together, Claire suggested, her voice steady with determination. Aria nodded, a brilliant smile lighting up her features. Let's burn away the darkness. Hand in hand, they forged ahead into the unknown, two hearts intertwined, ready to reshape their destinies, united not by hatred, but by a love that could transcend even death itself. Fade to black. Somewhere beyond, the echoes of a shattered rivalry whispered, their flame only just beginning to flicker anew, while the world below mourned the heroes who had touched hearts in ways no one could have imagined. The realm beyond the mortal soil of Eldermere pulsed like an eternal heart, the vibrant fusion of fire and ice swirling around Claire and Aria, constructing a new existence grounded not in rivalry but in an unbreakable bond. The air shimmered with their combined essence, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that danced with every emotion they felt. In this newfound realm, Claire felt lighter, like a piece of her burden had vanished. Gone was the guilt of battles fought and lost, all that remained was the extraordinary connection she shared with Aria. They were free, unburdened by the labels of hero and villain that had defined so much of their lives. Where do we begin? Claire asked, her voice a gentle echo against the ethereal landscape. Aria looked around, her eyes wide, reflecting the shimmering beauty around them. What if we create something that embodies both of us? A refuge for those in need, rather than a place of conflict. With a shared glance, they began to manifest their vision. From the ground, roots of flame and frost intertwined, growing in stunning symmetry, creating a structure that shimmered like autumn leaves kissed by a first frost. It spiraled upward, a sanctuary that symbolized hope and healing. As they worked in synchronicity, strands of fire whipped around Aria while the icy tendrils spiraled around Claire. Every flicker, every twirl, was a reflection of who they were, the raw power of their emotions swirling together, blending beautifully. It's beautiful, Claire breathed, awed by their creation. I never thought we could do something like this. It's easy when we're together, Aria replied with a hint of playful arrogance, her eyes sparkling like the icy stars above. Imagine what we can achieve. Though the structure loomed large, a grand testament to their union, a nagging thought tugged at Claire's mind. What about the world we left behind? The people. The villains and heroes who still fight. With a thoughtful expression, Aria nodded. We can't erase the past. But we can forge a new path. We can guide them to see what true strength is, compassion, courage, and unity. The weight of those words ignited a flicker of inspiration within Claire. They weren't merely creators of a sanctuary, they could become mentors. They'd show the world that love could bridge the chasm between hero and villain. If only everyone could see beyond their titles, perhaps change could flourish. Let's not just create this sanctuary, Claire said, determination glinting in her eyes. Let's invite others to join us. Let's teach them. With one firm nod, Aria summoned the flames lightly swirling around them to project an enormous symbol upon the smooth surface of their sanctuary, a shimmering flame encased in ice, representing their union. It served not only as a beacon for travelers lost in the darkness of their hearts, but also as an invitation for the heroes and villains left without purpose. As day shifted into night within their realm, the radiant symbol pulsed like a heartbeat, radiating warmth, light, and hope. They could almost feel the whispers of longing souls, heroes questioning their motives, villains wrestling with their choices. Days turned into weeks in this space of shared light. The sanctuary soon became alive with energy as individuals from both sides began to arrive, weary heroes searching for clarity, villains longing for vengeance yet finding comfort instead. At first there was skepticism. Old wounds and past grievances were evident as one hero and one villain eyed each other warily. But Claire and Arya stood at the center of it all, a reminder of what was possible when two souls embraced their shared humanity. "Listen," Claire proclaimed one twilight evening, her voice steady and clear. "We were once enemies too. But look around you. We chose to embrace what we had in common instead of what divided us. Imagine what we could achieve if we worked together." Arya walked beside her, ice fire illuminating their path. "This sanctuary is a place for healing, not judgment. Together we can rewrite our stories. No one needs to fear the power of love. Love is not a weakness, it is a strength." As weeks passed, one by one, the reluctant seekers began to find themselves drawn into the warmth of the sanctuary. Tales of triumph and turmoil filled the air, each story weaving into a tapestry of understanding. Healing rituals emerged, art burst forth, and together they began to dismantle what had been built during years of rivalry. During this time, the bond between Claire and Arya blossomed, becoming a source of light amidst the gathering darkness. Each day brought new challenges, but their unity held strong. They trained together, laughed together, and even shared heart-wrenching memories of their pasts that made them who they were today. As seasons changed, so did the sanctuary, now teeming with life, with budding friendships and newfound partnerships reshaping old rivalries. Claire marveled as she created vibrant fire flora alongside villains now turned friends, who began to see the beauty of growing rather than destroying. But as the conversations deepened, so too did the acknowledgement of the darkness beyond the sanctuary. There were still those who believed in the stringent lines of heroism and villainy, those who felt threatened by the unification taking place in this magical realm. One fateful evening, a group of broken heroes, led by the charismatic yet ruthless Titanus, stormed the sanctuary gates. Her presence alone stirred unease amongst the gathered souls, and tension thickened in the air. "This is a disgrace," Titanus thundered, her voice reverberating power. "You are heroes, why ally with villains? You abandon your purpose." Arya stepped forward, unwavering in her resolve, fire and ice swirling around her in a protective barrier. "We are not abandoning our purpose. We are redefining it. Strength is not about who wields the blade, it's about who can wield compassion." Claire stood beside her, clutching Arya's hand, fire flickering in their combined essence. "What if we let go of the titles? What if we created a world where we all fit?" Titanus' eyes narrowed. "You think you can change the world with your fantasies?" With a fierce determination, Claire replied, "It's not a fantasy if we're already starting to build it. Join us. Or stay in the shadows, where it's dark and lonely. You can't fight against the change that's already begun." A palpable silence fell as Titanus surveyed the sanctuary and its inhabitants, her loyal followers standing rigid beside her. But soft whispers of doubt began to crack through her facade, igniting something within her. After a moment, she turned her gaze upon Claire and Arya, these two warriors who had risen from the ashes of hatred to embody a new kind of strength. Slowly, a flicker of understanding kindled in her eyes. "What if," she began hesitantly, "what if there is a way to bridge this gap?" A murmur of hope rippled through those around them as Titanus took a step forward, the walls of her fortress beginning to soften. "Perhaps I'm ready to listen." The sanctuary held its breath, for this could change everything. Claire and Arya exchanged a glance, their hearts racing. They had fought to create a new path, and excitement rippled through them at the prospect of expanding their vision, letting the warmth of connection pierce through the cold veil of mistrust. They'd begun their journey as foes but now stood as warm-blooded entities fighting for a future together. With the world waiting in the shadows, Claire and Arya felt embers of hope blaze anew, igniting souls longing for connection. Together they would show both sides, the heroes and the villains, that they could rise from the ashes, intertwined, to become a force against the darkness. A new chapter loomed on the horizon, and Claire whispered to Arya, "Ready to see what else we can create?" Arya smiled, warmth glowing in her emerald eyes. "Always." Holding hands, they prepared to embrace whatever came next, a promise of a shared metamorphosis, as love illuminated the path before them. Their sanctuary stood strong, a testament to what could be achieved when adversaries became allies, when love forged from fire and ice became a beacon for all who sought a brighter tomorrow. Fade to black. And thus the embers of a forgotten flame ignited the dawn of a new era, where love, compassion, and unity triumphed over the shadows of the past. The sanctuary thrummed with a revitalized energy as Titanus stepped into the fold of the community. The air buzzed with newfound possibilities, and Claire and Arya exchanged hopeful glances, knowing they were on the brink of something extraordinary. "Welcome," Claire said, her voice warm. "We're here to build a better future together. You don't have to leave your past behind, rather, let's learn from it." Titanus surveyed the diverse gathering of former rivals, flames and frost intermingling, finding harmony in the chaos. Each face held uncertainty, yet hope flickered in the depths of their eyes. As the days passed, Titanus began to integrate herself into the sanctuary's life. She learned to train alongside former foes, engaging in battles not to defeat, but to understand strength and unity. Whether it was mixing her thunderous energy with the soothing embers of Claire's flames or the cool, calming aura of Arya's ice fire, every training session embodied a dance of learning and collaboration. One particularly brisk afternoon, they gathered in the training arena, a grand space at the heart of the sanctuary, where fire and ice melded into intricate patterns upon the ground. Arya and Titanus stood together, exchanging strategies while Claire led a group of newly arrived misfits, those looking for purpose, grappling with their own identities. "Okay, everyone," Claire called, her hands radiating warmth. "Today's focus is on forging connections. Let's work together on something beautiful." She motioned for everyone to form a circle, encouraging them to share their powers and blend them in unexpected ways. The diverse group hesitated at first, trust needed to be fostered, connections needed to be built. "What if I create a wall of fire?" a former villain murmured, glancing around hesitantly. "Let's do it," Claire replied, her enthusiasm infectious. The villain summoned a wall of flames that danced like a living creature. Next, a shy hero summoned icy mist to envelop the blazing wall. "But it might just fizzle out," she hesitated. "Then we'll be ready for it. Fire and ice can complement each other," Arya encouraged, stepping forward. "Let's embrace the chaos." As they combined their abilities, the simultaneous heat and coolness merged, evaporating into breathtaking vapor that shimmered like a rainbow on the edge of a storm. Gasps of awe rippled through the group, and a sense of camaraderie began to bloom. For Claire, watching the integration of styles and emotions felt invigorating. She thrived in this environment where vulnerability emerged as strength. It reminded her of the first time she had fought Arya, how daunting yet thrilling it had been. Once everyone settled into the rhythm, Claire decided to take a larger step. "Let's create a symbol. Something that embodies who we are and what we have come together to represent." To this, Titanus nodded, her expression surfacing the heavy burden she had carried for too long. "I have lived in shadows for so long, but in this sanctuary, I see a light." With Titanus assisting Claire, they began to forge a grand emblem, the flames of passion tempered by the icy clarity of purpose. The group worked together, each person contributing their unique touch, setting aside past grudges, discovering that collaboration birthed beauty. Weeks turned into months, and the sanctuary continued to flourish. Tendrils of growth spread from the once solitary place into the surrounding lands, infusing life back into a world that had known only darkness for too long. Villagers began to visit, drawn in by the luminous symbol of unity that glowed against the horizon like the sunrise. But just as peace seemed secure, uncertainty loomed beyond the borders of the sanctuary. Factions of old heroes, those rigid in their beliefs, gathered in the shadows, plotting against the growing community they saw as a threat. They viewed Titanus as a traitor and Claire and Arya as malignant liars, attempting to poison the world with their ideals of unity. One afternoon, as Claire walked alongside Arya near the shimmering lake where they often sought solace, an ominous figure approached from the tree-line. Tall and clad in dark armor, eyes glinting like shards of glass, it was Rivet, the former highest-ranking champion of the heroes. "I won't let you infect our kind with your treachery," he shouted, fear and rage fueling his voice. You think you have redefined the rules. You're nothing but a menace. Claire stepped forward, her heart pounding, both nervous and resolute. Rivet, we are not here to harm anyone. We are building a better future. The former hero shook his head. A future built on lies. A future surrendered to the villains you've embraced. This can't stand. He summoned a torrent of energy, a path of blazing fire following his call. Before Claire could react, Titanus emerged, her stance fierce and protective. You don't understand, she shouted. You're fighting against what we've created together. Are you really willing to destroy what's blossomed here? Rivet's eyes narrowed, and Claire recognized the conflict on his face. It was a longing to hold on to the past, masked by fear of the unknown future. Your fight is not with us, Arya chimed in gently, stepping forward. It's with your own doubts. Your own fear of change. But Rivet charged forward, dense flames bursting from his palm, a clear challenge to the newfound harmony nested within the sanctuary. Stop! Claire yelled just as Titanus retaliated, sending her tempestuous bolts of electricity racing toward Rivet. In that moment, both anger and regret cascaded together, igniting the very thing they had strived to banish. In the ensuing chaos, both sides clashed, and as the fire pulsed against the ice, time seemed to slow. Claire watched as the flames of their past threatened to consume the sanctuary they had built together. It fueled a rising fear that the world they had tried so hard to redesign would be devoured before it truly began. Fight against each other all you like. But know this, we can build, or we can destroy. Claire shouted, desperately reaching into herself for strength. Arya caught her gaze. Together they pushed forward through the turmoil, intertwining their powers in a brilliant fusion that cast light upon the fractured battlefield. In ecstatic rhythm, they poured their energies into a singular surge, an emblem that danced like stars, flame, and ice shining in brilliant unity. Remember why we're here. Claire cried out, compelling Rivet and the gathered crowd to see. Together, we're stronger. Let our past be the fire that fuels our future. The display caught Rivet off guard. As he stood amidst the chaos, engulfed by memories of his own struggles and the friends he had lost along the way, the emotions of love and loss surged within him, cracking his facade of anger. As if by some magnetic force, Rivet's flames began to dim, revealing a vulnerable side that was eager for connection. The embers flickering in the air began to dance together, mingling like stories across generations. Join us, Titanus implored, stepping forward. Let go of the hurt, so you may see the beauty in our union. We can rebuild together. When Rivet finally let out a breath, the rage faded. I'm tired of fighting. I just don't know how to stop. Claire smiled, her heart glowing with empathy. Neither do we. But we're learning through one another. Every day is a step forward. As the tension began to dissipate, Claire extended her hand, inviting Rivet into their circle. For a moment, hesitation clouded his expression, but the flicker of hope in his eyes began to glow brighter. Then, slowly but surely, Rivet took a step forward and grasped Claire's hand. The fiery tension eased in a wave of relief that washed over their cautious audience, while Arya steadied her breath, hope cascading between them like the gentle lull of a waking world. And from that point forward, the sanctuary was no longer just a haven, it became a home. A place to mend broken hearts, build new dreams, and empower one another in a world that had known only division. The boundaries that once divided them narrowed, hearts stayed open, friendships flourished, and the sanctuary transformed into a shining example of what was possible. It stood as a phoenix, reborn from the ashes of enmity, a testament to the power of love forged in the fires of understanding. And as Claire looked around, she knew they were embarking on a journey where every day was a choice to cultivate compassion. Their sanctuary was just the beginning, and together, even with old enemies turned allies, they could birth something that would truly change the world. With Arya by her side, Claire knew they would walk this path of love and light, illuminating their way home, always together. Fade to black. Thus the embers of forgotten flames fused into a bonfire of unyielding spirit, a promise to uplift, to inspire, and to change the world, one heart at a time.